March is upon us, and there comes with a bunch of new game releases as well. But believe it or not, this isn't actually a very overwhelming month. The releases are very tame and few and far between, honestly. I'm gonna be checking out the 9 game releases that you need to be keeping up with in March 2022. Let us have a look at all of the games. I'll also pick the games that I'm most excited for this month as well. First up, we have Elx II, or Elx II, coming out on the 1st of March. This is a game I never thought I would see a sequel to. Elx, if you're not aware, was a game that came out, I think in like 2018, a AA published game from THQ. Elx is an open world RPG style game that mixes futuristic sci-fi third-person shooting combat as well as fantasy hack and slash style combat. You guys know I love it when two genres meld like this, sci-fi and fantasy, and this game did it in a way that wasn't particularly amazing, if I'm being really honest. It was a little bit rough, but it was very, very cool. Elx 2 looks to be improving everything that the original one did, which was plagued with obviously jank and weirdness, and hopefully they've managed to iron out all the kinks in this second version. This is made by a small development team called Piranha Bytes. These are the guys who worked on the Risen and the Gothic franchise. If you're an older school gamer like me, you might remember those from way back. Risen was like this fantasy series that went into pirate territory and then went kind of back to a mixture of fantasy and pirate after a while. I am absolutely excited to check out Elx 2. This is one of my, I would say probably one of the most anticipated games this month, but there's another one on the list that I'm really looking forward to as well. Coming out the same day on March 1st, we also have Shadow Warrior 3. And if you're an Xbox owner, you can pick it up on Game Pass for free, day and date. Shadow Warrior 3 is basically like a modern day Duke Nukem. This is obviously an older franchise that's been reinvented more recently, but it's basically a very, very gory and graphic first-person shooter. Kind of run and gun mixture of melee combat and shooting combat. It definitely reminds me of those old school Duke Nukem Doom style first-person shooters, and I think it definitely takes inspiration from both of them, both with a comedy perspective as well as obviously gory, quick, fast-paced gameplay. This has never been a series I've particularly been into, but I know there is a fair amount of community buzz for this one, so it's awesome that they're making this for the audience that really does love it. Gran Turismo 7 is coming out on March 4th. This is it's the 7th, but it's actually like the 10th or the 12th iteration in the Gran Turismo franchise. Gran Turismo 7 is sim racing at best. That's essentially what it is. It's PlayStation's hallmark sim racing game, and this game looks absolutely stunning, honestly. We've been waiting for a driving game like this to come to the PlayStation 5 because it really does showcase what the PS5 is capable of, and it's awesome to see Sony finally bringing this out. And I'm shocked it's coming out this early in the generation as well. Normally they get pushed a little bit later in the generation than this. GT7 appears to be more of a return to form over Gran Turismo Sport, which was more focused on online and motor racing. This one here focuses on classic sim racing with a giant roster of cars. It honestly looks really, really good, but I probably won't be picking it up at launch because Sony tend to be charging a little bit much for their first party games at the moment, so I'm holding on until it gets a little bit cheaper. Over to the Nintendo Switch, which hopefully you guys have as well because it's a great console. We have Chocobo GP, which is a Final Fantasy spin-off game about Chocobo kart racing. It's basically a kart racing game where you race chocobos. I know this is traditionally a PlayStation channel, but this game looks really, really fun as well, and I'm looking forward to checking it out on the Nintendo Switch. Kind of weird that it's exclusive to that platform when we have Final Fantasy on the PlayStation, probably more prominently than on Nintendo as well, so no idea what that's about, but the game does look really cool, and I'm absolutely going to be checking this one out this month. For the PlayStation 5, we have Grand Theft Auto 5 coming out on March 15th. Kind of weird that this is coming out yet again on another system, and it's probably going to be a really big deal when it does. PlayStation Plus owners get a certain component of it for free, so you don't actually have to go and buy anything. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how GTA 5 looks on the PlayStation 5. This game is coming up on 10 years old at this point, so it's going to be interesting to see how they've improved it and enhanced it for the PS5. If you've platinumed the game already, I assume it's going to have an auto pop trophy list, so trophy hunters, look out for that. Otherwise, Grand Theft Auto Online on PS5? Is it still a big deal in 2022? Honestly, let me know in the comments down below. Does this matter to anyone? Is anyone like super excited for this? I'm kind of keen to check it out, don't get me wrong, but is this like the game that someone's looking forward to? I don't know anymore. You tell me. The game I'm probably looking forward to the most is Ghostwire Tokyo. This is the Bethesda published first-person horror shooter game made by the same studio that worked on the Evil Within franchise, which was a great third-person horror game set kind of in the Resident Evil style of gameplay. This one here is more of a first-person perspective, more in the Resident Evil 7 and 8 style of gameplay. It looks like it's taking on fantasy and demons and things like that, and I am very, very keen to check this out. This is probably my most anticipated game for March, and it's going to be a day one purchase for me, I think. This is also going to be the last Bethesda exclusive game that's coming to PlayStation. This was part of Bethesda's deal before they were purchased by Microsoft, and we don't know what this looks like after this game. Who knows if we'll get any Bethesda games on the PlayStation after this, or if it just means they'll be multi-platform and no more exclusivity like this one. This game looks great. I am very, very pumped to check it out. March 25th, we have another Nintendo Switch game, Kirby: The Forgotten Lands, it's basically another classic Kirby game on the Nintendo Switch. I'm not a huge Kirby guy, it's not really my thing, but I did watch the trailer where he eats an entire car and then becomes a car, and I don't know if it's terrifying or if it's incredible. I'm not sure. Hopefully we have some Kirby fans in the audience and you can sound off. Turns out everyone wants to release their game on March 25th because we also have Tiny Tina's Wonderland coming out on March 25th as well. This is the Borderlands spin-off game which is overarching kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's very similar to the Tiny Tina DLC that we got for PlayStation Plus last month. At heart though, I think it's basically just Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3 again, just kind of reskinned in more of a fantasy setting, although still focusing really heavily on guns and combat and things like that. The game actually looks pretty damn decent. The price point for it looks really reasonable as well, but I'm kind of just a bit burnt out on Borderlands, honestly. I've played a lot of that franchise over the last 10 or so years, if not longer, and I kind of am just over it. Is anyone else feeling that way, or is that just me? I know a lot of people are excited for this, so don't get me wrong, if you're excited for it, that's fantastic, but curious to see how many of you are out there. Kind of a left field one, Weird West coming out on the 31st of March. And no, not just a placeholder date, this is the actual date it's coming out. This is published by Devolver Digital, the guys who always do the really weird E3 press conference stuff. Yeah, you know the guys. That looks cool. It looks like a Wild West, isometric, top-down Diablo style game, which looks kind of cool. Looks like it has a real-time combat system in it and melding fantasy and Wild West elements. It looks really, really neat. I'm actually keen to check this one out, and I don't normally play these kind of games, so be aware of this if you're looking for something kind of different and strange to check out this month. There you go, 9 games for March, and like I said, it's not a massive month. It's a pretty reasonable March. Hopefully April is equally as reasonable. Let me know what you're playing this month. What are you picking up? What are you excited for? Or have a chat about it in the comment section down below. Bye! Another month, which means another Patreon video for all of you beautiful people out there. Thank you so much to all my Patreons and YouTube channel members over here on the right-hand side for helping to support the channel and keep the lights on. Without Patreon members, this is what it looks like. This is how it is without the lights on. You don't want that. Don't let that happen. Thanks to all the names over here on the right-hand side for helping to support the channel. If you too want to become a Patreon or a channel member, the link's in the description down below. Channel members get a bunch of cool icons next to their name. They get special emotes to use in the chat, and they get my undying gratitude, just like each and every one of you Patreons. Thank you so much. Goodbye.